So, Synne, welcome, and thank you very much for taking some time to have a chat to us about NoFence and also about virtual fencing in general. I'm quite sure that a lot of our people who tune into our podcast will be interested to learn a bit more. Um, on the basis that not everyone will know about NoFence, it's probably worth you just kind of chatting for a little bit about,
Yeah,
about the business and and how it works, what it does.
definitely, Tom, and cheers for having me. It's lovely to always nice to get the opportunity to speak about No Fence because it's a nice little story. So No Fence, we do virtual fencing for cattle, sheep, and goats, and it is a virtual fence in the sense that we collar animals with the GPS unit or tracker. We just call it a collar. And what happens is we draw pastures or fence lines in an app on our phones, or the farmers do. And the animals that experience the boundary, if they cross it, there is an audio that gets higher and higher in pitch as you move away from the boundary. And then the animals, they learn to turn around because they know if I don't turn around, I'm going to get a pulse. So effectively, we're used to fencing because we've always fenced livestock. And when we use normal fencing, temporary electric fencing or stock fencing, then the animals can see the fence. So they use that to avoid discomfort. We've just swapped sensors now. So we're using their listening skills and their ears. So they use their ears to know where the grazing area is. And effectively then it's quite a change from fencing manually to fencing in an app on your phone. So that's basically what we do at NoFence.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I was I wrote a paper for my master's, which is how I originally found out about you guys. When I initially heard about virtual fencing, I thought, oh God, what's the welfare around this? But actually, all of the research that's been done, ironically, has shown that this style of fencing, once the animals are trained, is actually significantly better for the kind of stress and welfare on the animals than traditional electric tape fencing, which I thought was really interesting and a real positive.
Definitely.
On top of the fact that farmers have this ability to essentially fence in animals without having to go out and spend time putting in electric tape fencing, which, as much as it's easier than full permanent fencing, is still
Yeah.
a time consuming task.
Definitely. And I think that it's just what you're used to, isn't it? We're all used to fencing and we don't have an issue with that. But then this virtual fencing comes along, and we just need to, as you say, we need to look at the research. What is the research saying about this? And I think that's our kind of fortune in this landscape, is that we come from a country of farming, and we've done this for now. We've collected 75 million hours of grazing, and when I started, most of the employees had their own animals. So the fact that we've had that kind of on-farm experience in the whole development process, I think, has been key to where we are today.
Well, and to that point, so I'm right in saying that you're a Norwegian company originally?
Yes.
You've now picked, I think, sort of your next big market is the UK over somewhere like Australia or New Zealand. What's the thinking behind that? Because
that's a really interesting one. I think the UK is forward leaning when it comes to agriculture, and the UK government said they're going to be world leading in agri-tech, which I think is bold because it is one of the biggest areas of development, both in technology and innovation at the moment. So hats off to UK for that. And I think the fact that the UK is close to us, so we have some similarities in the way we do agriculture. We have similarities in herd sizes, the kind of rough grazing that, I get always asked, can the collars handle rough grazing? And then I say, well, we come from Norway, 1,000-meter mountains, thick woods. I think I can handle UK countryside. And, it's just the closeness as well, in terms of we have physical products that need to travel, and having that distance is nice, and the 1 hour time difference. And again, you speak a language that we also, most of us can speak. So So there are lots of benefits, but I think mostly that UK farmers are, keen to pick up the technology, which is the most important thing, is to have people who are willing to adapt.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. So thinking about kind of the adoption by farmers at the moment, and obviously, as you said, your system works across most types of livestock. Who are the types of farmers that have been adopting it so far? And what have their reasons been? I mean, is it just for convenience, or is it to allow them to use mob grazing systems, or other similar types of rotational grazing?
Yeah, definitely. Rotational grazing is one of the biggest ones. The first one I'd say that we've done the most up until this point, but it's going to change, is conservation grazing. So we have those who have these vast areas that they want to maintain, and then they use livestock to maintain the area. Then we're talking sort of, the trust, RSPB, those kind of organizations that do have small herds that they move around a larger landscape. But then the second group is the one I think is the most interesting for us, is the kind of conventional farmers in the UK. And the common theme is optimizing grazing management. So you're looking at farmers who either have already adapted and managed grazing or rotational, block grazing, strip grazing, there are so many names, but a kind of grazing management scheme. So those who have adopted and are just keen to do it in a different way because they spend hours each day moving fences. And there are those that want to adapt better grazing management. And I think that kind of is really what we're trying to do as well, is trying to become that tool for the farmer to get more back from the soil that they have, and hopefully regenerating some soil, which I think is going to be hugely important when we look at climate change and how to battle that in the future.
I mean, that's so encouraging to hear, and I think it's one of the reasons why it's so nice to be working with you guys. I mean, at AgriEPI, one of the things that we're always very keen to do is to find ag-tech solutions that have genuine on-farm impact, and this feels like one of those technologies that will do that. I mean, what do you see as the kind of the obvious improvements for livestock farmers and stockmen through the use of your technology?
Right now, it is pretty much the fact that you don't have to do the physical fencing and the kind of more farmers' welfare in a grazing season, which is we sometimes as a society, we neglect the fact that farmers work a lot. We've just accepted that they do that they work 14-hour days. And I think we shouldn't. As a society, they provide goods that we need every day. And we need to value that, and we need to give them a healthy work-life balance. And grazing season for a lot of people is stress. You have fences that break. You have to get up in the middle of the night to give your animals access to shelter when it's raining. And giving that sort of access is where, or that kind of flexibility is where we're creating value now. But I think the real potential is in the future. And let's say we could become more data driven, and we can give the farmers more feedback on their grazing management. We can help them say, let's say your animals have been there for that long, maybe we recommend you move them. What about here? And kind of collecting that data and together with the farmers, building a tool that they find useful. I think that's where we're looking into. And I want to give a huge thanks to all the British farmers who've joined us so far and want to take part in that development, because if everyone's waiting for that final step, then we're not going to get there. So I think that's key to note as well about British farming.
Yeah, so it's interesting you talk about data as well, because of course, because your system involves individual halters or harnesses, I don't recall which you refer to them as.
Collars, yeah.
Yeah, collars. There's other technologies out there, and boluses as well. They're looking to monitor animal welfare and health through these kind of systems. Are you looking at adding functionality to your devices, or are you looking to potentially partner with other livestock ag-tech companies and get through the interoperability to kind of build a larger ecosystem of livestock data?
I think it's going to be key for us to, or I think every company that does livestock monitoring is kind of competing around about the space around the cow's neck, because that's going to get more and more busy as we go along. And those that are good at integrating, I think, are going to win that race. So it's not just a case of us saying we're going to do everything ourselves, but I think we need to start from the farmer. So what is a farmer looking for? And sometimes what can we give the farmer that they don't even know they're looking for? But finding that balance of what does the farm, what kind of tool are they actually looking for, and then building that. And then once you get to that point, then it's easier to evaluate, all right, is there someone who's better at this than us that we need to work with, or is this something that's brand new and we need to take it on ourselves? And so I wouldn't know yet, but hopefully the future will tell us.
We'll see.
Yeah.
To your point there, and I think again it's something that we really strongly believe in at AgriEPI, which is about farmer engagement and making sure that technologies are built around farmer needs. And it's really great to hear that that's a big part of the way that your technology is developed.
Yeah, and it's been key for my past year is both spending time and talking to a lot of my customers, and although my office is the AgriEPI Centre, I spend a lot of time outside of it, being with farmers in the field, and I particularly enjoy if I can get the opportunity to go to a farm and work with a farmer, not necessarily specifically with NoFence, but do stuff with the farmer just to understand, right, how do you work? And then I like to kind of just observe how a farmer uses the app, because sometimes I use the app in a certain way because I'm used to doing it that way, but then I look at the farmer and I say, oh, you're doing it that way. Oh, does that affect sort of our perception, or should we do anything different to make that easier? And seeing what have the farmers picked up about us and what have they not. Can we do anything on communication or in-app features that makes it easier to use? So yeah, I think it's absolute key to work with your customers and make them part of your team almost.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's almost, in software you'd call it UX or and experience design, and it's really interesting to see in this kind of second wave of ag tech businesses how putting UX and experience design front and center and understanding time and motion studies is so important. And that, again, it's really, I think there's some lessons there for other ag tech businesses. So right now, understandably, given the technology that you're using, you've mainly focused on, is it beef, cattle and dairy, or is it
yes,
sheep and
it's sheep and goats, most kinds of that, but then the main market is beef, cattle, and then the dry herd normally for dairy at the moment. So there is a potential in every direction we look, I think, when it comes to livestock. So we will, as of now, the main focus is to get a management tool out of this. So work even better to get something for rotational managed grazing. And if you're using a dry herd or a beef cattle herd, that doesn't really matter, because as long as the animals are not going out in and out for milking, it works the same. So getting that right first, I think, is a key, and then we can look out and see, all right, what are the other opportunities and what are their demands?
And when I bumped into you guys at Groundswell, the regenerative festival, for those that where I was asking about at what point the technology was going to be able to kind of automatically move livestock from kind of one cell to another cell, and at the time it was still potentially a bit of a kind of a manually done process. Is that, and it was on your kind of product development roadmap, is that something which has been done yet, or is it still on
it's in testing at the moment?
Oh, exciting.
Yep, very exciting. So it is in testing. I can't say for sure when or how it's going to be launched, but it is in testing, and but it needs proper testing before we can do anything, because we need to keep the animals safe.
No, of course.
And that is the key thing for us. So, but it's been really interesting, because obviously this year we worked specifically with six farmers in a pilot project, who do different kinds of rotational grazing. So we have some suckler herds, we have some calves, we have some heifers, and it's just nice to see them because they all do manage rotational grazing, and then the feedback becomes so specific from that kind of pilot project that the automated move that you've talked about has definitely come up, and now it's already in testing. So it just shows that again, it's customers setting demands, and then it's easier to deliver the right things.
So have you got any particularly positive experiences in live and field you could talk about, or even just slightly negative ones that have been big learnings for you?
I think the positive side is to see what I love to see is when I hear stories of my customers who put animals out on areas where there was animals before, but then they were removed and now they're back in. And I think that just shows sort of, all right, we've actually on that ground that there now is no fence, we've made a difference. And I thoroughly enjoy those stories. And also now that we, those who adapt managed grazing, can we help them increase their outputs as a farming business? I love those stories as well. And if there's one lesson I've learned, I think it is, we need to be even better at, or we need to product quality is going to become even more important in the UK. We're quite a moist country, and yeah, how do we solve some technical issues in the UK, and maybe learn a lesson on price levels and how to be competitive in a livestock market in the UK, because it's different from where we come from.
And what could you say to the semi-skeptics out there who, or and how they might potentially be able to kind of try this out, without fully committing to it, because it is a new technology. I think it would be quite scary to kind of for livestock farmers who obviously have to take a huge amount of care for their animals.
Yeah, and I very much understand that. And what I would recommend then is, firstly, right now we're running a trial by coincidence where you can have collars for 2 months and try them for yourself. Does it work?
Literally,
keep them. If not, we'll take them.
For livestock.
Either you can choose. But yeah, for your livestock, and second is to come along to our field days, because I think it's about speaking to someone who's using the system today, and I'd be confident to give you, if it wasn't for Agri-EPI, I'll give you a call list of all of my customers and give them a ring and talk or learn from their experience, because I think we at NoFence, we learn a lot, but farmers learn a lot better from each other.
Yeah.
So take the opportunity that is in all of my 130 customers at the moment, to learn something of their experience, because that's what we're trying to do, and become a part of our NoFence community on Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, look, you send me the details for those open days, because I don't know those are happening. We'll put them in the show notes and put that out. So the last couple of questions. So, I mean, what are the next steps? Where are things going over the next 18 months or so with NoFence? We've got any big plans you can tell us about?
Oh no, I would say keep the path that we're on, and we are going to be looking for some awesome people to join us. So if there is anyone out there who is keen to take part in this busy scale up everyday life, then drop me an email. So we're going to be expanding. Hopefully the AgriEPI has got a bigger office for us. And then secondly, I think it's going to be a lot of market expansion. So more marketing, more webinars, more events, hopefully, and more colours out on different sites. So hopefully a lot of people will have a NoFence neighbour.
Yeah, well,
within the next 18 months.
It's been amazing watching the growth, and as you rightly said, with the number of kind of farmers who are actively engaged with you, and clearly some kind of word of mouth, which always says a lot within the kind of farming community. It says a lot for the for the success of the product, and and the effect it's having on everything from welfare to productivity to which the term I really like that you coined there, which was sort of farm welfare, which is something which I think often gets forgotten. Well, look, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with us. And
cheers, Tom. Thank
we'll be
you as
seeing
well.
you soon. And yeah, send me those details and we'll put them in the show notes.
I will.
Thank
No
you.
worries. Cheers.
Speak soon.
Speak soon. Bye.